Not every movie can capture the attention of its audience, and there are a lot of these poor movies that go overlooked. Let's take a look at the top 10 worst movies of 2022. Let's be clear that this list was compiled using several movie websites as a source. Before we get further, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Let's get to it. At number 10, Morbius. On April 1st, 2022, Morbius was released. This ridiculous addition to Sony's Spider-Man universe rapidly became one of the year's greatest jokes. Funny that was released on April Fools. Dr. Michael Morbius, played by Jared Leto, is transformed into a superpowered vampire after attempting to cure his ailment. Morbius, with its outdated VFX and lousy storyline, is bad even when compared to superhero movies from 20 years ago, let alone those done today. And despite the jokes, it's not even worth viewing for a poor movie night. It's a disaster from start to finish, and it's not even ironically funny, unless you're looking at the memes. At number 9, Firestarter. The first Firestarter isn't all that great, but it's a gem in comparison to this shambolic replica. The film, based on Stephen King's novel of the same name, stars Zac Efron as a father attempting to safeguard his young daughter, who possesses pyrokinetic skills. Critics and spectators both panned Firestarter. Reviews have remarked on how it's boring and uninspired. Even the graphics aren't worth mentioning. There's no need to see this unless you must see every single King adaptation. Simply told, Firestarter doesn't produce any heat. At number 8, The Bubble. The Bubble has all the hallmarks of a classic comedy, but it's awful. The Netflix comedy, directed by Judd Apatow, follows a gang of filmmakers as they attempt to produce an action film about slaying dinosaurs during the epidemic. Perhaps the poor reception is due to people not wanting to be reminded of the current pandemic, with the backdrop of pampered celebrities and many inside baseball jokes about filmmaking, because it certainly hits all the same beats as other Apatow films, along with people doing TikTok dances. At number 7, Moonfall. Roland Emmerich specializes in disaster films. However, Moonfall is primarily a flop. The movie, which stars an overqualified ensemble that includes Halle Berry, Patrick Wilson, and Donald Sutherland, is basically what you'd expect from the title. The moon is hurling itself at Earth, so it's up to the brightest brains to solve this devastating challenge and discover that there's more to the moon than we previously thought. You're right if that seems absurd, but Moonfall isn't even funny in its absurdity. If such a scenario occurred in real life, it would not be as uninteresting as this. At number 6, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Netflix original Texas Chainsaw Massacre film holds the distinction of being one of the franchise's worst films, which is saying a lot with how bad the remainder of Leatherface flicks is. The latest Texas Chainsaw movie brings audiences to a small Texas town where a group of cool hip young people aims to turn it into a cool hip destination. Yeah, it's a gentrification film. Fortunately, Leatherface turns up to chainsaw everyone. It's strange when the movie's protagonist is a power tool wielding monster who commits mass murder in front of our eyes. But that's par for the course of the series. At number 5, Choose or Die. We strongly advise against selecting to watch this Netflix movie. Iola Evans plays a young woman who was a victim of horrific old video game in the movie Choose or Die. This ought to be the ideal recipe for some outrageous fun, but aside from some undoubtedly spectacular effects, Choose or Die doesn't have anything going for it. The writing is so bad that not even a voice appearance from horror legend Robert Englund can make it up. Thankfully, it only lasts 84 minutes, but you may be declaring game over far earlier, because you're going to get real bored. At number 4, Redeeming Love. Based on Francine Rivers' novel, this play transports the biblical story of Hosea to California during the gold rush. Angel is played by Abigail Cowan, a young woman who comes from an unfortunate circumstance and finds grace in Michael, played by Tom Lewis. It's difficult to ignore the film's religious undertones, but it's also tough to become invested in these folks and their path. Redeeming Love is a holy bore, as are far too many faith-based films. There are good ones, but these just mess it up. At number 3, 365 Days, This Day. The 365 Days flicks are awful erotic thrillers that make 50 Shades appear beautifully enlightened. Both the original and its sequel, it has 0% approval ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. This Day is so poorly constructed that it's debatable if it counts as a film. And while it isn't considered as morally repugnant as its predecessor, it's nevertheless considered backward in more ways than one. At number 2, The 355. What happens when you combine a group of brilliant actresses and the dullest screenplay? You get The 355, a spy thriller that sets out to empower but comes up empty. 4 operatives from different countries work together in this movie to seize a weapon before it can cause unimaginable damage. Jessica Chastain, Penelope Cruz, Lupita Nyong'o, Fan Bingbing, and Diane Kruger are some of the overqualified cast members. The cast of The 355 has several Oscar winners, yet it still lacks creativity. We're all for more movies with female leads, but we want them to improve. And at number 1, The King's Daughter. Prepare for a crazy ride. Pierce Brosnan plays King Louis XIV, who wants to become eternal by capturing a mermaid. He intends to take its life force, but it befriends his daughter. The film, named The Moon and the Sun, began production in Versailles, France in 2014. It was supposed to be released in 2015, but it was cancelled. It was renamed The King's Daughter and released in 2022. The process of getting this movie distributed is far more intriguing than the film itself. Well guys, that's it for this one. What'd you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. If you're new to our channel, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell to get notified about our videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.